Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing for the dawning of a brand new championship. Tonight, we go racing for the first of 8 consecutive weeks in Season 2 of the official eSeries for the Junior Saloon Car Championship Season 1, which concluded a number of months ago, earlier on in the year. Certainly provided us with plenty of entertainment, provided lots of young up-and-coming sim racers an opportunity to impress on a big stage. And now here tonight, our second season of competition about to burst into life. It's Andy McEwen here to talk you through all of the action. A big thank you, as always, to the whole team here at PASR. Tom O'Farrell, the man who is responsible for providing the wonderful broadcast, to Mick Sutton, who is, well, the man behind it all, really. And we also welcome 2 new members to the team for tonight. Jack Werrell, who many of you will have heard on commentary, actually, for the first round of the Ginetta eSeries a few weeks ago. Months ago even now. He is stepping in for the foreseeable future as our race director and safety car driver, and we may also be hearing some co-commentary from him later on in the season, whilst we have a new clerk of the course, Craig Cherney, who is going to be stepping in to try and keep some rule over the youngsters who are set to head out onto the circuit. They'll be doing so very shortly with a qualifying session and 2 20-minute races. That will be the format for all 8 of the rounds this season. We start tonight here at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit. In fact, Brands Hatch will top and tail the 8-week calendar. We'll have our championship finale here on the 25th of January, which is, I think, 9 weeks away, but even so, terrifyingly close. In the meantime, we'll travel around the United Kingdom, taking in many of the tracks that will make up the real-life 2024 Junior Saloon Car Championship calendar. Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire will host round 2. We'll head to Castle Combe for round 3, round 4 at Thruxton, then Snetterton on either the 200 or 300 circuit, whichever one eventually makes an appearance on the real-life calendar. Anglesey, a great addition to the calendar, is round 6 before we head to Alton Park. As I said, it all concludes once again here at Brands Hatch. That's how the calendar shapes up. What are they all fighting for? Well, as always here at PASR, some pretty good prizes up for grabs. In fact, one potentially life-changing one, because the champion driver at the end of the season will receive free entry into the Junior Saloon Car Championship Scholarship, which will take place in February next year. Free entry to that is a wonderful opportunity for next year. But if you don't win the championship, don't worry, there are still opportunities to take home some prizes. Our driver, who is runner-up at the end of the season, will be taking home a brand new sim rig, the PASR3, which is the one pictured on the image there to the left of screen, whilst our third place driver will receive their choice of 2 prizes, either the MSI 32-inch gaming monitor or £200 cash, which they can spend on what they wish. I think I know what I'd be picking, and it would certainly be the gaming monitor. There's also the Driver of the Round award, which is awarded every week to the driver that we here on the broadcast team thought impressed the most, and that could be because of just a really strong night overall, a good overtake, a good save, a good recovery drive, whatever it is that catches our eye. Each driver who wins that award each week will receive a pair of 3M UK sim racing gloves. So lots to fight for over the course of the 8 weeks, and we are looking forward to seeing who comes out on top. Well, we are, I think, about ready to move into the qualifying session, which is already 5 minutes in, a 15-minute session. Pretty short, sharp action here. Not a lot of time to get your lap together, but thankfully this is a short lap here at Brands Hatch. The Indy circuit taking under a minute for the quickest drivers to complete, and it's no real surprise, I guess, to see this man at the top of the times. Nathan Williams is our reigning champion here at PASR. He won the Ginetta Junior eSeries that concluded, as I said, a month or so ago, after a season-long battle, only just coming out on top in a dramatic final couple of races in that championship. Here he is now making the switch to front-wheel drive Citroen Saxos, and he is just as competitive as ever before. Just over a tenth of a second at the moment, quicker than Kyle Felvers, who has raced as a guest driver, I seem to recall, with us here in the past, but back for a full season tilt now is Kyle Felvers, who I know is a very, very able sim racer. And again, not hugely surprised to see him up near the pointy end. He's just over a tenth shy of Nathan Williams then, who heads for the pit lane now. A bit of a setup change and maybe some new tyres 5 or 6 minutes into the session. We've then got Albert Henriksen Bell third fastest, Levine Kishore fourth, Luke Sintler fifth, and here Jordan Taylor sixth fastest at the moment. Now he was the runner-up in the first Junior Saloon Car Championship eSeries, and he is potentially going to be a contender in this one as well. We know that he's quick in these cars, although if, as we expect to be the case, the level of competition takes a big step forward this season, then it might be a little bit trickier for him to be a contender. But he is sixth fastest at the moment, narrowly missed out on that championship, as Tom O'Farrell was just reminding me, by just 2 points to CJ Morgan. CJ Morgan, our first Junior Saloon Car champion on the eSeries anyway. I'm sure he's watching along at home and cheering on some of his former rivals, including Jordan Taylor. So Taylor then drops down through Graham Hill Bend, careful not to run too wide on the exit of that corner, because that is the kind of place that track limits could come into play. If you exceed the track limits too often through there in the race, then you can find yourself with a penalty. In qualifying, you can have lap times deleted, and Jordan Taylor doesn't want that to happen. He is green at the moment though in sector 1, so personal best through the opening sector, but then heads for the pit lane. Harley Connolly, meanwhile, ninth fastest at the moment. He too looks as though he might be about to improve on that. Comes across the timing line and stays in ninth place. The second sector not quite going his way. Pitches the car through Paddock Hill Bend. A good opportunity here to ride on board around this short but very dramatic Brands Hatch Indy layout. Paddock Hill Bend perhaps the highlight, but then we head uphill steeply into this right-hand hairpin at Druids. You get a lot of understeer on the exit in a front-wheel drive car as the ground really drops away from you. Then down into this sort of awkward 90-degree left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. Ideally, try and use the curb on the inside to help rotate the car, but Harley manages to avoid running too wide regardless. Heads down the short Cooper straight into the left-hander at Surtees. This should be flat out in these cars. Again, riding the curb there to help turn the car through the right-hand kink of McLaren and into Clearway's corner. And you can see there are a few different lines you can take there. There's the early turn-in, which is what Harley Connolly went for, whilst the car ahead went for the later apex to try and square the car up, get the run through Clark Curve, which is easily flat out, and then hook the pit wall ideally for the shortest run to the line. Did that work for Harley Connolly? No, not quite. Again, the second sector ultimately not yielding an improvement. So lots of drivers who we are familiar with from racing here at PASR in the past. A couple of new drivers, though. This is one of them then. Down in 17th place at the moment is Olivia Kronoska. And Olivia, one of the new drivers into the championship, and just slowly but surely starting to build her speed. The best of the newbies at the moment is a driver in 8th place, I believe, Matt Guest. Matt Guest, I don't recall seeing racing with us before. Here he comes, dropping down into Graham Hill Bend, and he's solidly inside the top 10, as in fact is Ben Cordingley as well. Ben Cordingley just rounding out that top 10. There he goes, look, through Paddock Hill Bend. So two of the rookies, essentially, to PASR are doing reasonably well in this qualifying session. Clarify, there are drivers who have raced with us before here at PASR in this series, but no driver is allowed to enter this championship if they've competed in, I think it's more than 3 real-life Motorsport UK sanctioned events. So these are all drivers who have little to no real-world experience. It really is a great opportunity for those who excel in the sim racing world to try and get that opportunity that money really can't buy, to go and compete in real-life motorsport. And there are quite a few drivers out there tonight who are looking to try and begin their championship campaign in the best fashion possible. Nathan Jensen comes out through Clearways and Clark Curve, takes the wide line there through Clark Curve for some reason. He's all the way down in 20, well, it was 19th place, he's now up to 18th position, I believe. Yes, he just gets ahead of Ty Cuthbert with Newton at the bottom of the timing screens at the moment. Oliver Newton, the last of the 20 drivers to have entered this opening round, but we'll wait and see how much quicker these drivers can get as the evening and indeed the season goes on. I say this every time with these junior championships, but I love watching the drivers who perhaps at the start of a season aren't all that competitive start to get more and more competitive as the season goes on. This, though, is someone we expect to be competitive right from the off. It is, of course, Kyle Felvis, and Kyle is improving. Look, in fact, he's faster than anybody else in the first sector of the lap. What can he do through Sector 2, though? He's only 7 thousandths faster than Nathan Williams through Sector 1. Can he keep that going in the second sector and snatch pole position away across the line? He will go, and no, not quite. Agonisingly close. He manages to shave a few thousandths off his time, but has to ultimately settle for second fastest still, but he's got time, 3.5 minutes or so to go, and that's time still for 3 or maybe 4 more laps in the session. So Kyle Felvis could still manage to snatch that pole position away, and that would be well worth doing, of course, because there are points available for things like qualifying on pole position and for setting the fastest lap in the races as well. You score 25 points for winning a race. The fastest lap in each race is worth a bonus point, and so is the fastest lap in qualifying. So setting the pole position time in this session could, well, it will make someone the early championship leader. Jordan Taylor has just improved perhaps his chances of that being him, because he's just jumped up into 3rd position. So Jordan Taylor, with improvement in Sector 1, has just moved ahead of Levine Kishaw. So Taylor up into 3rd position. And through Paddock Hill Bend will go Kyle Felvis once again. Didn't improve on that particular lap, but like I said, he still has opportunities, as long as the tyres are still underneath him, to find a little bit more time. Turns his way up through Druids Corner, and drops downhill towards Graham Hill Bend. Kyle Felvis, I think, has he backed off on this lap? They're still pushing, I think. We'll get a first sector time. Definitely pushing based on the line that he's taken through Graham Hill Bend. That might have been a little bit too wide, though, on the exit of the corner. And, well, he's 3/10 down anyway, so this is not looking like being an improvement for Kyle, unfortunately. Lewis Stannard's just on a personal best in Sector 1. There we go. Tom O'Farrell, not for the first time, reading my mind and realising that Lewis was on a bit of a flyer here. So Lewis Stannard's 7th quickest at the moment. Another 10th of a second would get him 6th place. In fact, another 10th and a bit would jump him up onto the 2nd row of the grid. So that is a potentially decent improvement to be had here from Lewis. Let's see then. He was 7th, crosses the line, and for some reason takes that very wide line, doesn't hug the pit wall, and I don't know whether that lost him some time, but in the end, that wasn't the fastest time that he's done, and this one won't be either, because he's just run very, very wide out of Paddock Hill Bend. So through Paddock also now goes Hayden Gray, and there's a car off in front of him and a car very slow behind him. That's Oscar Abratzese, and he is 12th fastest at the moment, and one of the newer drivers to racing with us here. He was crawling his way out of the pit lane, I think, perhaps trying to find a bit of clean air, or maybe the opposite, trying to find someone to get a bit of a slipstream from. I'm not sure that's worth a huge amount, really, around a track such as Brands Hatch Indy. There's Nathan Williams, though. Nathan Williams, faster than anyone else so far in this session. He was fastest in the practice session as well, and he's continuing that vein of form again into qualifying. He is, well, what's that, half a 10th or so now quicker than the car Felvis, who's in the pit lane, and therefore I don't think he's going to be able to get back out in time to set another lap. So actually, the only driver who could realistically still beat Nathan is Jordan Taylor, but Jordan Taylor not improving in any of his sectors. So Jordan Taylor there is, in fact, he's the next car just ahead of Nathan Williams. He's about a quarter of a second in the drift, nearly, of the pole time. Someone in the barriers there, that is the car of Nathan Snaith, I think, isn't it? 17th fastest. He was in the wall at Clearways Corner. Holly Connolly showing red on the timing tower as well, which means he's off the road somewhere. Jordan Taylor across the line, and it is an improvement, but not quite enough to get ahead of Kyle Felvis, but it does now put the top 3 drivers within a 10th of a second of each other. That's remarkably close, even around a short track such as this. Nathan Jensen gets it all wrong through Paddock Hill Bend. He had crossed the line with time to do one more flying lap, but flying lap well and truly scuppered. Now, can Nathan Williams and Jordan Taylor find another improvement? Well, Taylor has backed off by the looks of it, so Jordan Taylor isn't going to be improving this time around, and we'll have to wait and see whether we get an further improvement from Nathan Williams based on that first sector time. It doesn't look likely to happen. Meanwhile, Levine Kishore coming through. Is this going to be an improvement for Levine then? A 58.953 is his personal best so far. And it is an improvement. He knocks Jordan Taylor down to 4th. So Levine Kishore with a late improvement there to 3rd place. And Levine, who was a regular appearer on the podium in the first of the Junior Saloon Car Championship's official E-Series, looks set to continue that again. He really blew a bit hot and cold, didn't he, Levine, in that first championship that we ran, but now has certainly set his stall out to be impressive right from the start in this one. But it is Nathan Smith who sets the fastest time in the qualifying session then, and he will become the early championship leader. 1 point going his way because he set that fastest time. And he'll also have the advantage of starting at the front of the grid in the race later on. How much of an advantage that proves to be, I'm not so sure, because everyone is so evenly matched that it's set to be, I'm sure, a very, very close race regardless. But we can now get the thoughts of our pole sitter. Nathan Williams joins me in the commentary box. Nathan, long time no see. Good to have you back and picking up exactly where you left off in the Ginetta's pole position, but not by a huge margin.
Yeah, it's really close, this championship. Obviously, top 3 separated by less than a tenth. Obviously, it's been like that through all of the practice. I think it's just the nature of the track and the car. It's just the gaps are so close.
Well, that is something that you're sort of used to, because we saw that in the Ginetta series. That was nip and tuck, wasn't it? But it was really just the two of you there, at least for the most of the championship, who were setting the pace. Do you expect this one to be a little more competitive? It looks, doesn't it, like more drivers are on the pace right from the start.
But yeah, obviously we've got 3 people within a tenth, and then back then, even you go back to like 5th, it's only still 2 tenths in it, which isn't a lot. If you can lose a second easily like by battling, so in the grand scheme of things, 2 tenths a lap isn't too much.
Obviously, you're someone who knows how to win a championship. You demonstrated that recently. Coming into this one, though, do you feel there's a bit of extra pressure on your shoulders now? Do you think that people are sort of looking at you and expecting you to be the early pace setter? Does that affect you in any way?
Slightly, but not entirely, because I think, obviously, I'm going into this championship. Most of the people near the front have obviously competed in Season 1, which obviously think that gives me a slight disadvantage in some elements. Obviously, I think it's just about trying to do as well as I can, and then obviously, hopefully win the championship, but also just try and get as good a result as possible.
Got to ask you about the Ginetta Scholarship. Obviously, that was your prize for winning the Ginetta E-Series. How did that go for you?
It's great. It's great to drive a Ginetta in real life after driving it so much in the sim. So yeah, unfortunately didn't make it for the second day, but it's a great learning experience, obviously, for anything in the future.
Absolutely. Well, you never know. In another 8 weeks' time, we might be entering you into another scholarship courtesy of the Junior Saloon Car Championship. That would be fantastic if that could be the case. Let's talk about this first race coming up then, starting from pole position. Not always a great place to start in the real world anyway at Brands Hatch. It's not a long run into Paddock Hill Bend, but it's an uphill run, and you're going to have some pretty hungry drivers snapping your heels into that first turn. What is the game plan in the early stages? How do you expect this race to play out?
Well, I think the first stage is get as good a launch as possible. It's something, these cars are quite difficult to launch, and I think I really struggled with that in any, like, just practicing with it. I think it's just a secret to getting it, and I just don't think I have it yet. I think it's just trying to stay as high up as I can off the start, and then from there, if I'm in first, I'll just try and probably just drive away, not likely to happen. But if I drop down a bit, then it's obviously trying to work my way up in a way which loses as least time as possible.
Which isn't going to be easy, but we've seen in the past your racecraft is pretty strong as well. So hopefully, if you need to, you can draw upon that in this race. Nathan, the very best of luck. I'm sure we will be chatting to you a little bit later on, hopefully as a podium finisher in the first race of the season. But for now, congratulations on pole. Enjoy that championship lead whilst it lasts, and we'll see how you get on.
Thank you.
So Nathan Williams then, pole position for the first of the 2 races. And like I said, that means he scored 1 championship point. He ended up winning the Ginetta Championship by not much more than that, really. So he knows how important every single point can be. And in just over a minute's time, he'll be launching off into Paddock Hill Bend and trying to add a further 25 points to that tally, because that's what you score for winning a race in this championship. 25 points for a win, 22 for second, and 20 for third. And then it goes down in 1 point increments. So if you're wanting to take big points out of some of your title rivals, be that at the start or at the end of the championship, then really finishing in that top 2 or 3 is vital, because from 4th on back, it's just 1 point increments between each position. Nathan Williams will therefore have his sights very much set on the top step of the podium. He is the yellow and black car that starts from pole position. Kyle Felvis alongside him. Now, Kyle and Jordan Taylor, they are teammates for this season at HFT Racing. They are running near identical liveries, the sort of pink and black, mainly, paint scheme. The only difference is the colour of the roll cage. We can see that from this angle. The pink roll cage from the car that starts on the outside of row 1, that's Kyle Felvis. The turquoise roll cage of Jordan Taylor starts from 4th. So best of luck trying to keep track of that as the race gets underway, which will be happening any second now. Just waiting for those red lights to come on, which they're about to do, and Nathan Williams and Carl Felvis will do battle on the run towards Paddock Hill Bend. Here we go then, a new season of racing, season 2 for the Junior Saloon Car Championship's official E-Series, and it's Nathan Williams versus Carl Felvis starting from the front of the grid. The lights go out now, and Nathan Williams, who said he might struggle to get off the line, ends up making actually a really strong start. Carl Felvis can only slot in line behind him, whilst his HFT Racing teammate Jordan Taylor attempts to go with him there from 3rd position. Up towards Paddock Hill Bend they go. It looks as though Williams will hold on to the advantage. Taylor does slip into 3rd, and in fact has a little nibble up the inside of his teammate. Might even try and go for the race lead, but Nathan Williams has the door closed as they head for Druids for the first time. So Williams leads the way, but runs a bit wide, then gets a bit of a headbutt from Kyle Felvis in the process of trying to get the switchback move, which he succeeds in doing, but in slightly robust fashion. Felvis then gets to the front of the field. 2nd place now for Nathan Williams, whilst further back, Harley Connolly is up the inside of Alvin Henriksen Bell. There's a collision behind. That involved Luke Sintler, I think. And maybe Lewis Bell. Lewis Bell slipping down the order slightly, but they are all still pointing in vaguely the right direction as they head through Surtees and up towards Clearway's corner for the first time, where it's side by side for the race lead again, and Nathan Williams immediately trying to attack and get that position back. He's up alongside Kyle Felvis, and of course as they run side by side they give a double slipstream now to Jordan Taylor behind, so all 3 of them are about to arrive at Paddock Hill Bend pretty much together. It's just about Felvis who hangs on. Nathan Williams slots back into 2nd place, and Jordan Taylor on their tail in 3rd. We ride on board now with Levine Kishore. He is 4th. Lewis Stannard is 5th position right behind, so a 5-car breakaway at the front of the pack for the time being, and they could not be much closer as they round Druids for the 2nd time. Already a very competitive race here prospect, although perhaps not for Leo Bell, because he's had a drama at Paddock Hill Bend and is slowly trying to get himself going again on the run up Halewood Hill. So Felvis leading the way, just maybe starting to break away slightly from Nathan Williams, who's getting a bit of a helping hand actually from Jordan Taylor up the Cooper Straight, and then Jordan immediately launches up the inside into Clearways. That was a pretty textbook move, but it's not guaranteed to work. We saw Nathan Williams actually in this position a lap ago against Kyle Felvis, and Kyle still managed to retain the lead. Is the same thing going to happen now with Jordan Taylor? He's up the inside and not quite level, but about halfway alongside the pole sitter's car, who Nathan Williams tried to close the door, wasn't quite clear, and actually only Jordan Taylor backing out of that, I think, avoided a fairly significant shunt. Jordan, though, will now be more eager than ever to try and find a way through. There's a gap up the inside at Druids, and this time it might just work for him. Taylor goes through, Williams sideways on cold rear tyres, and that's going to open the floodgates now, I'm afraid. Levine Kishore comes through, and Lewis Stannard gets alongside him. Well, he manages to fend Lewis off for the time being. That, meanwhile, is Jake Wardle bouncing wide over the grass, coming out of Druids' corner. Lewis will lose a little bit of ground. I don't actually think he lost too many positions out of that, but a little bit of momentum lost, I am sure. Similar story really for Nathan Williams. He's definitely been losing momentum in all of this, whilst further back they're going 3 wide through Surtees. I am not a professional racing driver, but even I can tell you that's a bad idea, and it's Livia Kranoska who's in the middle of all of that. Nathan Snaith just ahead in the blue car runs a bit wide, and Olivia sees a chance to get up the inside. A good example here though of just how competitive the racing is, not just at the front of the pack, but also further back in the field as well. This is the battle for 15th place. Oliver Newton, the pink car at the front of this group, but you'd think they were fighting for the race lead, wouldn't you? And in fact, all of these drivers might find themselves fighting for the race lead in race 2, because remember, to form the grid for the second race, we have a full grid reversal. So whoever finishes last in this race starts from pole position for race number 2, and that gives a good opportunity for everyone to get their moment in the spotlight. That's Luke Sintler, meanwhile, who I do think got caught up in some way in the collision at Graham Hill Bend on lap 1. He's back into the top 10 now, though. Nathan Jensen coming with him. And then Oscar Abruzzese in the green car, well, was about to try and gain a place, but then Ben Cordingley saw a chance to get up the inside. There's maybe a touch on the apex. Cordingley sideways, and he will lose all of his momentum, and that might just allow Wardle now to get up alongside him. Meanwhile, back at the front, this is the fight for third place, and Nathan Williams back on the inside of Levine Kishore has managed to squeeze his way through. Kishore then finds himself on the outside of Lewis Stannard. Lewis Stannard trying to break through into fourth position here. He's got the inside line heading for Druid's corner, who is later on the brakes. Well, they're both pretty even, but the shorter way through the corner belongs to Lewis Stannard, and he closes the door pretty forcefully on corner exit 2. So Kishore gained a couple of places earlier on. He's lost a couple now and is back down into 5th position. That means Albert Henriksen Bell and Harley Connolly are now also almost onto the tail of this group as well. In fact, they're going to go side by side as they turn through Surtees corner. Henriksen Bell on the inside here, trying to... Sorry, Harley Connolly, that was on the inside. Henriksen Bell on the outside line, almost in danger of getting run off the road. But good racing respect and racing room left there by Henriksen Bell. And, sorry, by Connolly, excuse me. It's Connolly on the inside line. That means that Henriksen Bell will eventually manage to sweep through. So that's 6th place now for Albert Henriksen. Quicker towards the end of our last championship, and now is kicking things off in style again here in the JSCC series. However, he's now immediately having to defend again because Harley Connolly tries to go around the outside at Druid's corner. That doesn't quite work, and so Albert will stay in front. So, Carl Felvis leads the way. Jordan Taylor second place, 1.6 seconds now, nearly behind, and Nathan Williams in third has just set the fastest lap of the race. So, Nathan Williams has the pace, there's no doubt about that. Just got roughed up a bit, really, in the early stages, and that's not to say that there was any dirty driving going on. He just got knocked out of his rhythm, really, by Kyle Felvis and Jordan Taylor coming through, and he's only now a third quarter of the way into the race, starting to regain that rhythm. Starting to close in on the cars ahead. There's Kishore 5th, Henriksen 6th, Connolly 7th, and Billy Bream actually is starting. Sorry, Bertie Bream is starting to catch them in 8th position. So this could become a nice little four-way scrap for position inside the top 5 before too much longer. And Adderkill Bend they go up towards Druids yet again. And Kishore sideways, and that's. It was a feature of these cars first time around, wasn't it? That they can be very sketchy. The brake bias naturally seems to be more towards the rear of the car. And that can lead to some pretty big sideways moments going into the corners. It happened there for Kishore. It hasn't yet cost him a place to Albert Henriksen, but I think it might be about him because Albert's on the inside line into Surtees, has his nose ahead as well. And that's always the preferred place to be, into that corner. So Albert Henriksen slips through into the top 5. And Levine Kishore has to drop down into 6th position. Harley Connolly in behind. We've lost, by the way, Oliver Newton from this race, which means there are 19 cars still running, and it's worth pointing out, again, as Tom O'Farrell reminds me of this point, that in order to be eligible for the reversed grid, you've got to have finished this race. So if you don't finish this race, you won't be at the front of the grid for race 2, you'll be at the back, you'll be the last of the finishers who will start at the front of the field. New fastest lap, by the way, for Carl Felvis, the race leader. So Carl Felvis now starting to re-stretch his advantage yet again. And it's his teammate at HFT Racing, Jordan Taylor, who's starting to come under a little bit of threat now. Nathan Williams in behind him. And that looks to maybe be the quicker of the two at this phase of the race. We're ticking towards half race distance. Just calming down ever so slightly after a very frenetic start to the race. Not further back there, not though, as the battling continues. This is Bell on the outside line, trying to find a way past Hayden Gray. So Leo Bell, one of the newer drivers to the championship, tries the up and under, tries the switchback manoeuvre out of Graham Hill. Ben gets to the inside line at Surtees, and can he force his way through? Not yet, and so Hayden Gray now has the inside line for Clearways, and he parks it on the apex. Does nicely. Well, I said he does nicely. Actually, he drifts out a little bit wide. So Leo Bell, with a perfectly executed switchback manoeuvre, made that look very easy in the end and slipped back through into 15th position. So worth fighting for these positions, though, because you do score points wherever you finish, but anyone inside of the top 20 has a chance to improve their point score. Outside of the top 20, it's 2 points regardless of where you finish, but they only have 19 runners at the moment, so that doesn't really come into play. But yeah, good opportunities here for some of those drivers further back still to improve their points haul from this opening race of the season. 11 minutes of that opening race still to go. Nathan Williams is starting to turn the screws a bit more now, starting to really apply some pressure to Jordan Taylor. He's in the slipstream here, coming across the timing line, and if Nathan gets on with this, he might still feel that he's got half a chance of chasing after Kyle Felvis, because in clean air, a few laps ago, Nathan was the fastest driver on the track, but now he's up behind Jordan Taylor. Perhaps he's starting to get a little bit held up. Can he nip up the inside towards Druid's Corner? The answer is, well, maybe, and Jordan... Oh, beautifully done that from Jordan Taylor. He judged that to perfection, realised that he could just about turn across the nose of his rival, Nathan Williams, and did so without even a hint of contact, which is nice to see. So is this a good little battle going on a bit further down the running order as they round the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. This going on just towards the back end of the top 10. Bertie Bream in 9th place. In fact, this is the battle for the best of the newbies, isn't it? Bertie Bream, in fact, no, sorry, he's trying to challenge Luke Sintler. Luke Sintler ahead of him in 8th, Bream in 9th. It's actually 2.2 seconds back then to Matt Guest, who completes the top 10, who is the next of the rookie drivers, if you like. They head up through towards the end of another lap. They continue to run nose to tail here, right the way down through the top 10 runners. Bertie Bream looking to try and gain a place if he can. Towards the right-hander at Druids, though, goes Nathan Williams, who ride on board with the Ginetta champion as he looks to find a way past Jordan Taylor. All the while that they're battling, Carl Felvis continues to march ahead, though, now 2.2 seconds his lead. Once he's settled into his rhythm, he has been untouchable in this race. But Nathan Williams has shown flashes of speed, and I think he and Jordan Taylor, they're going to take the fight to Carl Felvis this season, that's for sure. Through clear ways, and Nathan Williams, that angle, perhaps deceptive slightly, really made it look like he was charging to the inside line, but in the end, not quite able to make a move on Jordan Taylor. Further back, Ben Cordingley struggling to find a way back ahead of Nathan Jensen as they turn out of clearways. You can see from that inside line the difference in speed on corner entry and corner exit. Cordingley went in very aggressively on the inside line, but Cordingley then lost out a bit on the exit of the corner. Nathan Jensen able to come off the turn a little bit better. There is Carl Felvis, just looking pretty impeccable so far, you'd have to say. No mistakes yet from the race leader, and he's not the kind of driver generally to make any big mistakes, really, once he does get into his groove. But, he ought to be the favourite now for the race victory, but behind him, anyone's guess who is going to come out on top in the fight for second position. See how close Nathan Williams is getting to the second place man, but just can't find a way through. Up towards Paddock Hill Bend, is Jordan Taylor going to feel the need to defend? I think maybe was slightly, certainly further back here. Luke Sintler is defending because Harley Connolly is looking to the outside of him now. This is the fight for 7th position, and Luke Sintler, I think, has actually just gone through, hasn't he, past Harley Connolly in the recent past, because he had been battling away with Bertie Bream, and they're side by side again now through Druid's Corner. Harley launches back at the inside, almost leans on Sintler slightly, and they'll run side by side down the hill. Sintler gets his nose back ahead on the inside line, and can Harley Connolly go right round the outside? That's an outrageous move if it works, and it has. Brilliant stuff from Harley Connolly, just kept it pinned on the high line and managed to carry much more speed off the turn, and he finds a way through. These are low-powered Citroen Saxos. You don't have a lot of speed and acceleration, so you've got to keep that momentum up, keep that mid-corner speed up, and that is what he was able to do there. Harley Connolly, brilliant racecraft, and one of the best examples so far of some really, really eye-catching overtaking, and I think just about within track limits as well. 2 wheels over the line is more or less okay, but any more than that and you start getting yourself into trouble. Right then, Nathan Williams needs to try and draw some inspiration from what we just saw from Harley Connolly there, because he's still staring at the boot lid of Jordan Taylor's number 19 car, but he's now looking more and more intent on finding a way through. He's snapping at the heels, actually, of the second place man, but try as he might, just can't find that opening that he needs to make the overtake stick towards Surtees Corner. And this is really one of the best overtaking opportunities into clearways, and he's just not close enough. Late on the brakes is Nathan. Does that then sacrifice some exit speed? No, seemingly not. That was just a good run through the corner. As further back, Luke Sintler says, anything you can do, Harley, I can do. And he goes back up the inside and manages to reclaim the position. So Luke Sintler back to 7th place. Ollie Connolly down into 8th position. And as they scrap, so Bertie Bream starts to get a little bit closer. Not yet fully engaging in that battle is Bertie, but the Green Machine noticeably closer to these two than he was a lap or so ago. And as I say that, he misses the apex by a country mile at Paddock Hill Bend and drops some ground, but if they keep on scrapping, which I think they will, he is going to be there before too much longer. Round Druids down towards the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. On Connolly on par racing. Down into 8th position, I should say. This, meanwhile, is Jake Wardle. He, I think, has been off at Paddock Hill Bend and is going quite slowly on the rejoin. So Hayden Gray gets on the inside. And, Hayden Gray now up into the top 15. So Wardle, now that he's got his momentum back, fighting back again. You can really see the speed that you lose from having an off-track excursion. He had another off-track excursion there as he well and truly took a bite out of the inside curve at Graham Hill Bend, did Jake. Gray sees off that challenge too. Back up the order meanwhile, Albert Henriksen Bell here, sitting still in 5th position, has got Lewis Stannard ahead and Levine Kishaw behind. This has been an ongoing scrap really for 4th position for a number of laps now. Albert Henriksen looking to the inside there at Druid. Stannard runs wide, but as we just saw from Harley Connolly, that isn't necessarily a bad thing to do, as long as you power it up quite quickly and carry that speed off the turn. Going wider around some of the corners, particularly long corners like Druids and Clearways, you have less steering lock on the car, and in these low-powered front-wheel drive cars, that means that you can apply more power and drag yourself out of the corners a bit more quickly. That's what we saw again there from Lewis, but he's not quite as rapid through Clearways, and this does now give Henriksen Bell half an opportunity. He wanted to go to the inside line there, but Stannard had that one covered. I suspect he's going to hook that white line now all the way up towards Paddock Hill Bend. He forces Henriksen Bell to go the long way round, but that could leave the door open for Levine Kishaw. No, they stay as they were, heading through Paddock. I have to say, so far, touch wood, some brilliant, respectful racing being shown. Actually, lots of racing room, just enough racing room anyway, not too much in the way of significant contact. A big improvement on what we've seen in the past, really, which shows that many of these more experienced drivers are really learning with every race and every championship that they compete in. Got to try and treat others with respect, and if you do, you can have some really tremendous on-track battles. That's what we're seeing in this race so far. So through Surtees they go. Yes, I realise I am tempting fate by saying that. We've still got race 2 to come, but so far so good. This is much more like what we wanted to see. And this battle for 4th position is certainly engaging, isn't it? Lewis Stannard, Albert Henriksen Bell, Levine Kishaw, nose to tail as they come across the start-finish line again. Just under 3 minutes to go, so the opening round of the season nearing conclusion. And are we going to see a late lunge, a late desperate attempt from either Henriksen Bell or Kishaw to improve their positions here? Or is Luke Sintler starting to catch them as well? Yes, Sintler purple in the first sector on the previous lap at a 59.0, his fastest lap of the race so far, within a tenth or so of the fastest lap of the race set by Carl Felvers. So that car 4th in shot is definitely starting to close on these three. Whether he's going to have time to do anything about them in the remaining 2.5 minutes, I'm not so sure, but some good pace in the latter stages here from Luke Sintler. And that bodes well, doesn't it, for what potentially he could achieve in the second race. At the moment, he'd be starting mid-grid, which can be the danger point, but it means he'll be starting further up the order than some of the really quick drivers from race 1. But good fortune, maybe in the early stages, could put the likes of Luke Sintler in maybe a race-winning position for that second race. We've got 2 minutes of this first race to go, though. We ride on board with Levine Kishaw. He's got a grandstand view of the battle going on ahead between Stannard and Albert Henriksen Bell. Henriksen Bell looking to the outside again, but that's not going to work for him. Look at these onboard shots. You can really see the cars moving around there through paddock, and you can start to sort of get a glimpse into the driver's mind and see where the opportunities to overtake might be, where they're having to watch their mirrors and defend a bit more. Levine Kishaw not yet having to do that to defend from Luke Sintler, but I think by the end of this lap he is going to have to worry about Luke, because Sintler is quite clearly the quickest of this group of cars. He just did another 59.0 actually on the last lap, did Luke Sintler. That was about 3 or 4 tenths quicker than the 3 cars ahead of him. So Kishaw might now start getting spurred into action a bit with the arrival of another car behind him. He closes right in on Henriksen Bell through Clearway's corner. Sintler is there now, though. Now, can Luke Sintler challenge here? They're going to have 2 more laps to go here. And Luke Sintler might yet be able to gain a position or 2 before the flag. Kishore stays in line behind Henriksen Bell. Sort of hovers around the middle of the road, just slightly concerned maybe that Sintler might have a go at him. Closes in through Paddock, a lovely run through the first corner, but nowhere to go. He just gets a face full of Citroen Saxo, as Albert Henriksen Bell's car was in the way, and now Sintler does close in right onto the bumper of Levine Kishore. Through the right-hander at Druid, downhill, and now all of a sudden Kishore starting to grow a bit more concerned, I think, with what the car behind him is doing. He misses the apex there. Look, does Kishore at Graham Hill Bend, as maybe the pressure now starts to tell. So a 4-way scrap here for 4th position that is set to go right down to the wire. We're going to have 1 more lap to go, I think, at the end of this one, though. 1 more lap for Carl Felvers to prepare his winner's speech at the end of the opening race of the season. Who will be in 2nd place, though? That battle isn't done and dusted just yet either. Nathan Williams had dropped away from Nathan Taylor over the last few laps, was closed back in again now in the closing stages, and has 1 more lap around the Brands Hatch Indy circuit to try and make something happen. Over the curb, hammers the curb there, does Williams through Paddock. We're on board here with Jordan Taylor. In rear view mirror up at the top of the screen, we can see that Nathan Williams is closing in. Williams looks to the outside line, but nothing doing up at Druid's corner. Dropping downhill then into the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. Jordan Taylor is really now just 1 corner away from claiming this one, because the next corner at Surtees is flat out. The last overtaking opportunity, realistically, is into Clearway's corner, and I'm not convinced that Nathan Williams is close enough. He's not really been close enough at any point in this race into this corner to really make the attack. And it looks as though the final lap is going to be the same story. It is, though, going to be a victory here for Carl Felvers, who gets his season off to the dream start. He didn't quite snatch the perfect result in qualifying, but in the race, he is unbeatable. He takes the victory by 3.3 seconds in the end over his HFT Racing teammate Jordan Taylor. 2nd, Nathan Williams 3rd. Stannard comes home 4th, ahead of Albert Henriksen Bell 5th, Levine Kishore 6th, and the charging Luke Sintler ends up in 7th. Harley Connolly 8th, Bertie Bream is 9th, and the best of the newcomers, although Matt Guest had closed to within 0.4 of a second of him by the flag. So very, very impressive late race pace there from him, as he almost got himself up ahead of Bertie for 9th position. But fantastic racing, really, all through the order. I have to commend them once again. I really hope they can keep that going again in race 2, where things can sometimes get a bit more chaotic. But so far, some brilliant racecraft on show. There is Olivia Kronoska at the back of the field, but it's celebrations for HFT Racing, who will have that 1-2 finish to celebrate, and we will hear from both of their drivers in a matter of moments. In fact, we can already hear, I believe, from our podium finishers, because they're starting now to work their way into the commentary box, and we'll start appropriately with our race winner, Carl Felvers. Carl, congratulations, well done on the race victory, first of the season. Qualifying, you were just edged out by Nathan Williams, but really it was all about what went on in the early stages of that race, wasn't it? You made that early progress, confidence on cold tyres, that got you the lead, and then from there you never really looked back.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I think qualifying, it is so close in these cars. Being a slow-paced car, I think it's really easy to be really close to everyone. So I think that makes it a challenge, but going into the first lap, I think I'm just used to racing on a first lap, and I think there was a slight mistake made by Nathan. He went slightly deep into Druids, and yeah, that just gave us the lead, and from there it was just a hot lapping mindset, and we got away.
Yeah, I mean, once you made that break, obviously it wasn't going to be easy for them to close in, but the racing in the early stages there looked really, really close and really pretty clean. There was that tiny little bit of contact with Druids, which you just mentioned, between the two of you, and apart from that, good respect shown, I thought, between everyone at the front of the field.
Yeah, definitely. I think this car makes for some great racing. Being a slow-paced car, you can really have side-by-side battles, and I think in the practice sessions, some of us were doing like 3-4 wide, so it will definitely make for some good entertainment this season.
Well, you're going to have to get your overtaking boots on now. A full reverse grid. Again, this is nothing new to you. We know that you're pretty good at this sort of thing, but you're now going to find yourself racing against some drivers perhaps you haven't spent that much time door-to-door with in the past. Any nerves or anxiety at all going into this one?
No, I think reverse grid is just my favourite part of a race. I think just trying to get through the pack, I'm really used to it, so we'll just use the knowledge and use the experience and we'll try and make our way through.
Excellent. Well, very best of luck with that, Kyle. Congrats on the race victory. I'm sure the first of many this season, and a HFT Racing 1-2 as well. Not a bad start.
Thanks, Andy.
So Carl Felvis then your race winner. As I said, it was a HFT 1-2 because Jordan Taylor did manage to fend off Nathan Williams there in the closing stages, and Jordan joins us now. Jordan, that was a fantastic defensive drive that you had to put in there, because having got past Nathan Williams in that early sort out, he really came back at you towards the end, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a defensive drive, to be honest. I was just taking it easy because the track limits are so strict around Graham Hill Bend. So if I wanted to pull out the gap and stretch the gap a bit, I could have pushed a bit more around there, just been a bit lenient on the track limits. But I knew as soon as I got past Nathan, and I could keep him behind, because he started looking for moves and getting impatient, and then he started overdriving, then he dropped back a bit, because in these cars, unless you get past on the first couple laps, you're not going to pass anyone.
Well, confident statements from you there, Jordan. Nathan was certainly close enough that if you had made a mistake, then that could have cost you the position. And it's difficult to do, isn't it, really, to drive under that sort of pressure? I know that you said you felt you had extra pace in hand there, but for those who haven't done any racing, really, who might be watching either sim racing or real racing, how difficult is it to be driving around a track as intense as this one with someone literally a few inches from your rear bumper?
Just don't look in the mirror, because as soon as you start looking up and looking behind you, it all goes wrong. So I just kept myself to myself, looked where I was going, and if I saw his car pop up every now and then, I wasn't too bothered. But I'm used to racing with Kyle. He's a loose cannon sometimes, so I'm sure I'm okay.
I couldn't possibly comment. Yeah, second race coming up, and of course you and Carl are going to be starting on the back row of the grid together. Any game plan that the two of you have discussed? Are you going to work together here to make some progress, or is it every man for himself?
You might see a little HFT light show. That's a good special of ours, but we'll see how we get on. Obviously, every man for themselves, but if we can push through the pack together, we will. And if we can get in that top 5, that'd be amazing.
Good stuff. Well, very best of luck with that, Jordan. Congrats on the podium. A solid start to the season.
Cheers, Andy.
Well, there are top 2 fighting talk there from Jordan Taylor. I like it. Nathan Williams, we can chat to him now. Nathan, Jordan reckons he could have got away from you if he really wanted to. What about you? How hard were you pushing to keep up there?
I was pushing quite hard. I'm not sure whether Jordan actually had more time in it or he's just messing around. But yeah, I think it's an okay race. I think I just let the pressure get to me a bit, especially in the opening lap.
Yeah, talk us through that then, because these cars can be tricky on cold tyres. Obviously, you've driven rear-wheel drive cars on the sim with great success, but a front-wheel drive car, it's a unique challenge, isn't it, until you get those rear tyres up to temperature? Is that maybe where you were lacking a bit of confidence?
I think it's just, obviously, there's a bit of pressure with Jordan and Carl both being teammates. Obviously, they're not racing as individuals. Obviously, if they can help each other, they will. I think it's just going to the first corner. I was just trying to avoid any contact, and I think it's just with Jordan so close behind, I didn't want to mess up the braking point and take it a bit easy and end up getting tapped. So I think it's just, I ended up outbraking myself a bit, went wide, and then when I was overtaking Jordan a bit later, I just slightly clipped the grass and fell back to about P5 then.
Very quickly, thoughts for race number 2? Obviously, you'll be starting just ahead of them again. Do you think you can keep them in your mirrors this time?
But again, I think it's entirely down to the starts in the race. It wasn't too bad last time, but I think if I can get a good start, I can definitely do it. But it's just entirely about these starts, making as much time as you can on the people around you by turn 1.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like a good plan to me, Nathan. Hopefully you're able to enact that, and we'll see you back on the podium in race 2. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, there are the top 3 drivers. I love it. There's some confidence on the grid this season, isn't there? As they understand, I think, the significance of these early battles. Yes, it's only the first night of racing. There are 8 rounds of the championship, but every point matters, given the fact this is likely to be a very, very close championship race. Right then, reverse grid time now. Another 20 minutes on the clock, and it is Olivia Kronoska who starts on pole position. Ty Cuthbert alongside. They are the 2 cars that make up the front row of the grid, with Nathan Snaith starting from third position. Let's see what happens on the run towards Paddock Hill Bend. For the second time of asking, we're racing in the Junior Saloon Car Championship's official E-Series, and a demon start made by Kronoska, actually, from pole position, and also from Wardle, I think that was, from the outside of row number 2, breaking through into second place, but it's an absolute land rush into Paddock Hill Bend. Hold your breath, everyone. There's a bit of door bang, a little bit of pushing and shoving, everyone just about keeping it pointing straight. No, there is some contact further back, and 2 cars going around. One is Bertie Bream, the other, I'm afraid, is Lewis Stannard and Oliver Newton spinning too, but that is a real shame for Lewis Stannard, who was one of the impressive runners in that early race, and he is already a casualty at turn number 1 there. The HFT duo coming down the hill, just ahead of them. Oh, we've got a spin and some drama going out of Graham Hill Bend. That's Jensen going around, comes back into the road, and Kyle Felvis involved. Kyle Felvis off the road too. There's pandemonium going down the Cooper Straight as more and more cars are off the track. Ty Cuthbert is one of them. Nathan Jensen we've seen off already. Bertie Bream now starting to gain some places as a result of all of that, but that was a fairly messy, predictably messy opening half a lap or so. Hopefully things now starting to calm down as they come through at the end of the opening lap. The big story really is Kyle Felvis in trouble. Now he's not out of the race, he's still going in 16th place, but obviously has lost quite a bit of ground to those that he was racing in the first one. So Lewis Bell leads the way, Jake Wardle is second, Olivia Kronoska down to third, but the safety car's out and not all of them have noticed. Oh, they've not avoided contact, I'm afraid, and that is a spin for Hayden Gray and for somebody else there going around. Who was that? That was Kronoska. Now that all happened. Oh, and Oliver Newton's had a spin as well. Oliver, I believe, was having some issues with his wheel in the earlier race, his physical wheel, some hardware issues. Hopefully he got them sorted, but he's at the side of the road and it appears now to be out of the race. But that was a slightly messy situation where I don't think the message got through that the safety car was coming out. So that is not ideal, and a few drivers might now be questioning where they should be in the running order. But as we've got them, it is Lewis Bell the leader, Jake Wardle second, Harley Connolly third, Levine Kishaw fourth, Albert Henriksen Bell fifth. So Kishaw and Henriksen Bell really making some good progress there in the early stages. Then it's Abruzzese in sixth, Luke Sintler seventh, Hayden Gray eighth, ninth for Matt Guest, and 10th position for Ben Cordingley. So Taylor 11th at the moment, Felvis 14th, and Nathan Williams 15th. So despite Felvis having that drama at the start, something clearly befell Nathan Williams as well, because he ended up falling down the order too. So those top 3 from race 1 not making a huge amount of early progress. Even Taylor, who seemed to have a clean run for the first few corners, he ended up down, well, not gaining quite as many places as we perhaps expected him to. So, deep breath, everyone, as the safety car brings them around and wait for the field to get the green flag, which I think is going to happen this time around, and Leo Bell is going to be the one to bring them around Clearways and Clark Curve. He'll see the green flag, and we'll get racing back underway again then here at the end of the third lap of racing. Everyone bunched back together after that brief safety car interlude. Down towards Paddock Hill Bend they go. Already there's some moves being made there. That's Hayden Gray, who I think has reclaimed his position in the order, and he's getting into the side of Harley Connolly. Around goes Connolly, and that's a shame. Harley didn't really deserve that, and we saw some good pace out of him in race 1. Sadly, he is now right down the order again. That opens the door nicely, though, for Levine Kishaw. Levine Kishaw has somehow broken through into third place here, so this has been a bit of a dream for Levine. Out of Graham Hill Bend, then ahead now of Hayden Gray, them all stacking up behind him. Abruzzese, Luke Sintler, Matt Guest is in there as well, and this is 3 wide through 30. Not a good place to be. There's still 3 wide somehow on the exit of the corner, and Hayden Gray makes it 4 wide briefly on the way into Clearways. How have they not had an accident yet? That was brilliant driving. There is now a bit of door banging, but quite frankly, I'll take that. 3 wide through Clearways should not be possible, even in the sim, and yet they just managed to achieve it. Fantastic racing. We're on board now with Matt Guest, who's got a roadblock ahead of him, really. Abruzzese on the left, or Hayden Gray on the right in the yellow and orange car. And as they go side by side through Paddock Hill Bend, there is again a little bit of leaning on each other. They're both going to go off the road, and Matt Guest picks up 2 freebies. That was pretty much perfect. There's more carnage behind. That's Bertie Bream going around, and he's tangled with who this time, I wonder? There was a second car involved there, and I couldn't quite see who that was, and there's now more carnage going up the hill, as I think Ty Cuthbert got himself all in a spin. Yes, he is. The Quartermass Motorsport car pointing the wrong way. I'm not sure who Bream tangled with there, but anyway, he has come out of it worse, definitely down in 19th position. Luke Sintler, though, is up into 4th spot, so Sintler having a pretty strong run. Henriksen Bell 5th, Matt Guest in 6th position now, whilst Jordan Taylor, Carl Felvers and Nathan Williams are just kind of steadily picking their way up the order. They're 7th, 8th and 9th respectively now, so all inside the top 10, all sort of moving as a bit of a pack at the moment, but Nathan Williams will be a bit frustrated, I think, that he's back behind the 2 HFT boys, so a bit of a frustrating race for Nathan this, and an opportunity maybe to get some track position back on them, but it's not quite panned out that way. The hill we go then, that was Albert Henriksen, I think recovering from going slightly wide into the gravel there, so Matt Guest gets through it, gets up into the top 5, and then was that contact? I'm not really sure, but Henriksen suddenly ended up exiting stage left at Druids, and through goes Jordan Taylor, so Taylor getting past him, and I believe there was a bit of a touch there as they came off the corner. Carl Felvers now moves up to challenge, and of course Nathan Williams looking to try and go with him too. Up through Surtees they go. Williams, can he go right round the outside line? Yes, he can, and that buys him a ticket then to the inside line at Clearways Corner, so nicely done from Nathan Williams. Williams then up into 8th spot. Henriksen trying to fight back, but those top 3 from race 1 just slowly but surely picking their way through the order, as though is Levine Kishore, who might be the favourite to win this race now if he doesn't get taken out by Wardle, and they lean on each other at Paddock Hill Bend. Wardle goes through the gravel trap, he'll lose all of his speed, he'll also lose 3rd place, I suspect, to Luke Sintler, which he does, and maybe 4th to Matt Guest. This is a brilliant drive, this, from Matt Guest. Like I said, a rookie to racing with us here at PASR. We've not seen him race in any of our previous championships, and yet here he is running inside the top 5. This is a brilliant effort from him. In fact, he's in 4th place at the moment, but with some of the really quick guys from race 1 now not far behind him. And as they head for Clearways Corner, Matt Guest, well, could he get on the podium? That would be quite an achievement, wouldn't it? Like I said, he's got some quick drivers closing in, but might be better off just trying to almost work with them, really, rather than defend from them too heavily. He's got Jordan Taylor behind. Wardle, meanwhile, managed to get back on the road ahead of Carl Felvers, but Felvers is trying to challenge him. Look in the background as they turn into Paddock Hill Bend. That work? No. Jake Wardle hangs onto the inside line, and Felvers actually sideways over the curb, but Wardle goes out too deep, and Nathan Williams is up the inside of Felvers. Neither Wardle or Felvers had a clean run through Paddock Hill Bend, and that could mean 2 places gained for Nathan Williams. He's on the inside line going through Druids. That will become the outside for Graham Hill Bend, though. He wants to try and get that move made before they get to the left-hander at the bottom of the hill. Can he go right round the outside? I think he will. He's off the road. Now, they've got a couple of track limits warnings that they get, basically, before a penalty is handed out, and I suspect that Nathan Williams probably just used one of them up there. It really delayed Felvers on the exit of the corner, though, and Albert Henriksen is now moving up to challenge him, peeks to the inside into Clearways Corner, and that is not quite going to work. So Nathan Williams then heads out of the turn, having gained a place. That is one car losing some ground. That's Albert Henriksen. So Henriksen had looked like he was gaining some positions there, but ends up falling back behind a few others, Harley Connolly amongst them. And Jake Wardle moving back ahead too. So the next target now for Jordan Taylor is Matt Guest, just ahead of him. We've got Kishore up into 2nd place, but 3.6 seconds still behind the race leader Leo Bell. Leo Bell not being caught yet by any of the drivers behind. Jake Wardle's race, meanwhile, starting to unravel now. He's been off again. Look at Druid's Corner. Ben Cordingley gets up alongside, and then Jake takes a very adventurous line through Graham Hill Bend, from which he does not benefit because he ends up off into the barriers. And although Cordingley was wide onto the grass, he didn't lose quite as much time, it must be said, as the car that tried to slip up the inside of him there. Meanwhile, slipping up the inside of Matt Guest goes Jordan Taylor, and Jordan Taylor up into 4th position now. So Taylor picks up an extra spot. Can Matt Guest come back at him, though, as they come across the timing line and head for Paddock Hill Bend? I don't think that's quite going to work, is it? Jordan Taylor has made the move stick, and Jordan getting himself back onto the podium. We've still got just over half the race to go, so you wouldn't bet against it. And if he can manage to find a way ahead of Luke Sintler, then you'd have to say he's probably got the pace to go after Levine Kishore, but Leo Bell might be out of striking range, really. 3.3 seconds up on Kishore. That gap is not coming down. If anything, it's creeping up lap by lap. And Leo putting in a really, really good drive in this second race of the evening so far. Nathan Williams, meanwhile, is the next car behind these two. He just did a purple sector on the last lap. Carl Felvers, though, has gone purple this time around in Sector 1. The fastest lap of the race is a 59.043 by Nathan Williams, but Felvers might be about to pit that, actually. Let's wait and see. Across the line we go. There goes Kyle Felvers. And is that going to be a new fastest lap of the race? I wonder. Kyle does a 59.066, so no, not quite as quick as Nathan Williams went earlier on. But I do think that Nathan and Kyle are genuinely almost identical on pace, aren't they? It's just that Kyle made the break in the early stages in the first race and then sort of found himself out in clean air, whereas Williams was stuck scrapping. As he said, very difficult to overtake in cars as evenly matched as these. Although Oscar Abruzzese is proving me wrong, because he makes a very nice move on Ben Cordingley there, who survived his little altercation with Wardle down at this corner a few laps ago, but has now slipped down into 13th place, unfortunately. So Abruzzese goes through. Jensen's gone through as well into 11th position. Top 10 rounded out at the moment by Lewis Stannard. So Stannard not having a brilliant race, though he's just on the fastest first sector of anybody. So Stannard, now that he's in clean air, starting to go reasonably quickly. We ride on board, though, with Nathan Williams as we head up towards Paddock Hill Bend, and the race one podium finisher, the pole sitter from that first race, is now staring at the rear bumper of Matt Guest's number 8 car. I still think this has been a fantastic drive, though, from Matt Guest, just sort of keeping himself out of trouble in this race. Nathan Williams goes up the inside. Matt doesn't attempt to close the door, as some other drivers might do, and as a result, he gets a decent exit from the corner and still has the inside line for Graham Hill Bend, which he actually doesn't need. He slots back across onto the racing line, and Nathan Williams is stuck behind him for another corner or two at least. Carl Felvers, of course, is closing in all the while behind them. These three now starting to get themselves together through Surtees. Williams takes a tight line. Can he jink up the inside now at the inside of Clearways? The answer is no, although Guest misses the apex, scrubs off a bit too much speed by running wide, and so now Nathan Williams sees the chance to get through on the inside line through Clark Curve and towards the completion of another lap. The real question actually is whether Carl Felvers can follow him through here. Well, actually, can Williams even complete the manoeuvre? Because Matt Guest drags back ahead of him down the straight. They're pretty similar on the brakes. Williams on the inside line should have the advantage, but he's not made this move stick yet, and Felvers has a run on the pair of them now as they head underneath the bridge at the top of Halewood Hill into the right-hander at Druids. And Nathan Williams, I think, finally is, yes, just going to make the move stick. But Matt Guest made him really work for that. That was good racecraft from the pair of them. And eventually, after a lap nearly of side-by-side racing, they end up with Williams back ahead into 5th position, Guest down to 6th, but Carl Felvers immediately now means that Matt Guest has got another driver to watch in his mirrors, and Felvers is going to jink to the inside, and made that look very easy, really, didn't he? A nice, simple out-braking manoeuvre into Clearways corner. Felvers picks up a place as well, tries now to go after Nathan Williams. So at the moment, Felvers, I think, would have the early championship lead still, because he's only a couple of places behind Jordan Taylor. And like I said, from 3rd on back, it's only 1 point per position. So he's only dropping 2 points at the moment to Jordan Taylor, whereas he took 3 points out of him, 4 points, in fact, with the fastest lap in the first race. So Felvers in a strong early championship position. Finds his way now through Druids Corner and towards Graham Hill Bend yet again. Oscar Abruzzese, meanwhile, in 12th position, has caught up to Nathan Jensen. Battle then for 11th place as they drop down through Graham Hill Bend for the 14th time. Lots of curb taken there by Jensen. That sort of catapults him out wide onto the runoff area. And that means that not only is he in danger of exceeding track limits, but also now he's quite slow down the Cooper Straight. Abruzzese sees a chance to get to the inside, but the gap was never really there, I'm afraid. And Nathan Jensen will rightfully be aggrieved at that, although actually might not lose a position. He's going to make sure he doesn't lose a position by showing Abruzzese the edge of the road there, coming out of Clearways corner. I think that was all fair, really, having got turned sideways in the preceding corner. All means now that Nathan Snaith and Ben Cordingley are closing in behind. Felvis, by the way, has just set the fastest lap of the race in his pursuit of Nathan Williams a bit further up the road. The lead gap, by the way, also coming down slightly. 2/10 quicker on the previous lap was Levine Kishore than race leader Leo Bell. With 5 minutes to go, it's still a 2.5-second lead. In the first sector, though, he's another 2/10 faster. So Levine Kishore, now he's broken through into second place, is starting to chase after the race leader. But the work done, really, by Leo in the first few laps of the race, I think, is going to be enough here. Unless he makes a mistake, I don't really see Levine Kishore closing in, because the second sector isn't all that impressive. He's only a 10th faster, so 3 and a bit tenths gained over the lap. If he keeps doing that, it's going to be close, isn't it? But I think he needs closer to half a second a lap, really, to be able to properly get within striking range by the flag. Of course, as he starts to get within a second or so of Leo Bell, if he can manage that, that really puts the pressure on the race leader. Leo will be feeling that pressure, I'm sure. Leo, I believe, is another driver who didn't compete in the first season of JSCC, or did he? I can't remember now. If he did, I don't think he was a regular runner, although I'm prepared to be corrected on that. But the race leader, if he does start to come under some threat here from Levine Kishore in the closing stages, might just find himself feeling the heat in the closing stages. And yeah, Leo Bell hadn't raced with PASR until the team challenge, which was a non-broadcasted competition that took place between the Ginetta series and this one. Very quick driver, but hasn't raced in any of our official championships before. Certainly making his mark on this Junior Saloon Car Championship E-Series in the early stages. Nathan Snaith, meanwhile, further back, 14th place for him at the moment. The Ninja Racing car. Living up to its name, really, because we haven't seen a lot of it, really, tonight. But he's 14th, in behind Ben Cordingley. Looking to maybe try and pick up another position or two before the flag. Just ahead, there's a very entertaining scrap still going on between Nathan Jensen and Oscar Abruzzese. And Abruzzese getting the run out of the turn and manages to move back ahead, does he? Yes, before they get to Graham Hill Bend. So good overtake there from him. 11th position now belongs to Oscar. So we can see whether or not he can find a way to get back at him, maybe, in the closing stages. 2.5 minutes to go. Clark Curve again, up towards the end of another lap of racing, and Abruzzese peeking to the outside, back to the inside again towards Paddock. And further up the road, this is Felvis, is it, on the attack? Yes, fighting with Nathan Williams. So Carl Felvis not giving in yet on his hopes of breaking back into the top 5. And of course, he knows the significance of this, because he fully expects, I think, Nathan Williams to be a title contender. And up through Surtees corner again. Felvis then looking to try and find a way through if he can, out of Clark Curve towards the beginning of another lap. 1.5 minutes to go, so 2 more laps to go. 2.2 seconds the lead gap between Bell and Kishore, so that's not likely to change, I don't think, is it? Further back, then Cordingley and Oscar Abruzzese closing in, are they, on Nathan Jensen? Jensen, I think, has had a moment at the final corner, maybe. He looks a bit slow there, coming out of the final turn, but that's all right. Manages to keep it all together. Head for the right-hander at Druids Corner. These three battling for a position outside the top 10, but again, it's as intense as anything. They're not settling for positions here, are they, by any means? Head out of Graham Hill Bend, accordingly, with a pair of cars battling just ahead of him. Towards the end of another lap, and accordingly wanting to try and pick up these extra couple of positions if he can. Then out of Clark Curve, 1 more lap to go, and at the head of the field, it's under 2 seconds now. Leo Bell to Kishore. Kishore just going to run out of time here, I think, through paddock. Oh no, it's all gone wrong. Abruzzese into the back of Jensen, and who is just avoided by Ben Cordingley. And Jensen also falls back behind Snaith as well, so that didn't really work out for him. That was a bit of an unfortunate moment. Oscar Abruzzese, I think, getting a bit over-ambitious maybe there through Paddock Hill Bend. The race leader, though, is Leo Bell, and he is moving his way out of Clearways and Clark Curve for the final time, and it is going to be a race victory for him. A brilliant recovery drive, this after being off the road at the start of race 1. He's managed to pick up a victory in race number 2. Levine Kishore comes home in second, and Luke Sittler will finish in third, whilst the top 3 from race 1 end up off the podium in race 2. Jordan Taylor, Nathan Williams, and Carl Felvers 4th, 5th and 6th respectively. So a nice mix of drivers making it into the podium places by the end of the night. Ben Cordingley, meanwhile, finishes 11th, gets the best of Oscar Abruzzese with Snaith and Jensen behind. Olivia Kranoska will be 15th home. We've got Bertie Bream and Jake Wardle, both of whom had off-track excursions in the earlier stages of that race. So, that gets everyone home after an entertaining pair of races here from Brands Hatch. Hayden Gray is going to be the last driver to see the checkered flag. 19 of the 20 starters making it home. Unfortunately, Oliver Newton, I think, battling those wheel issues, not able to make it to the flag. But that was an entertaining race, no doubt about it, and it's Leo Bell who claims his first victory of the season and completes the comeback after a disappointing opening race. We can catch up now, I think, with our podium finishers, beginning with the race winner Leo Bell, who joins me in the commentary box. Well, Leo, based on the way your first race of the night started, I don't think many of us really expected to. Oh, well, we did have Leo Bell. He's just vanished again from the commentary box just as I was teeing up the questions. So we'll get on to him in a moment or two. Well, instead, shall we move on to our second placed finisher, which is Levine Kishore. And we'll hopefully get Leo back for a race winners interview in a moment or two. But for now, Levine, hopefully you can hear me. Welcome back to the podium. Good to have you back racing with us again here at PASR. And pretty solid result for you there, really. Second place finish, some good points scored, and some strong pace, really, shown across both races.
Yeah, I mean, pace was there. Maybe not enough for second for the first race, especially with a few mistakes. It was second on track, but during the safety car, I couldn't actually hear when it was called, and so I don't know how the penalties are going to be dished out. I hope I gave all the places back, but we'll see. Yeah, that's all I can really say. Maybe a bit more to improve in terms of consistency, but second race proved to be pretty consistent at the end, mostly.
Difficult to be consistent though, isn't it? Especially around a track like Brands Hatch. It's a real rhythm circuit, isn't it? Because it's quite a short, quite an intense circuit. If you get out of that rhythm, it can be difficult to get back into it.
Yeah, I mean, especially last corner, where you're really trusting that the tyre doesn't go into the grass. If you mess up there, it can ruin your whole exit, losing you a few positions. And depends on your driving style as well. If you try and go for an overtake too deep, you're likely to lock up either the fronts and rears. So yeah, it was a bit of a battle against the car today, but I mean, it worked out. So
yeah, happy with second, I'm sure, and a good podium finish. I think there's a good chance of you being a championship contender as long as you're here for the full season. Are you planning on doing all 8 rounds this time?
Yeah, I mean, there are mocks now in GCSEs this year, but I'm planning to practice as much as I can. To be honest, I only got 1 day of practice for this race, and it worked out pretty well. So I think I need to be a bit more efficient with the practice, and it'll work out. Yeah.
Well, look, I can't remember what I got on my GCSEs, but I remember every sim race that I've ever been a part of. So if there was some advice in there that you can take, then by all means take it. But anyway, Levine, good to have you on board. Second place finish, a strong start to your season. Well done.
Thank you.
So Levine Kishore then gets himself second place. We do now, I think, have our race winner back with us, so we'll try again to have a chat with Leo Bell, shall we? Who was a runaway race winner that time, Leo, after a disappointing first race. So not a bad comeback there for you.
Yeah, probably if you asked me this morning if I was going to win, I probably would have said no, but I've just managed to keep it consistent. And I knew if, like, Levine managed to get into second, they're a lot quicker than me. It was more a game of just trying to keep them behind.
Yeah, and obviously then making that little break early in the race really helped you, but then once you were in clean air, your pace was strong as well. So I know you said it was a bit unexpected, but did you find some pace in the races that wasn't really there in practice?
I think I managed to gain about a 10th in the races, so sort of kept it consistent from my practice times.
Thoughts for the rest of the season then, because I know Tom, who's in charge of the broadcast, he said that you joined us for the teams challenge and you were very impressive in that. So were you expecting to be a race winner and therefore sort of a championship contender this early on?
No, not this early on really, because I knew I wasn't the quickest. So it was just sort of luck, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
Yeah, well, you're off to a good start, I'd say, with a race victory from the second race. You'll be right up there in the early championship points. So yeah, pretty good start for you. Well done, Leo.
Thank you.
So finally, our third place finisher in that second race of the night, Luke Sintler, who had a bit of an up and down night, I think it's fair to say. We seem to have seen a lot of you tonight, though, Luke. I think you've been involved in quite a lot of the battles. And actually, race 2 was probably the quieter race for you, wasn't it?
2 was quiet. It was just a case of watching what was behind me whilst trying to keep up with who was in front of me, really. Just seeing how the race played out.
And you've got to be clever in those situations, haven't you, as well? Because you've got those quick drivers coming through. You are a quick driver as well, so you had some progress to make. But then if you get someone behind you like Levine, who perhaps is a bit faster, you've got to pick your battles, really, haven't you?
Yeah, you just got to really watch what's going on around you and try and just keep consistent. And just keep up with the guy in front and you'll be okay for the race.
And obviously a podium, again, a solid start to your season, really. Thoughts now going into the next week? Do you think you'll be able to keep this pace going at, I think it's Cadwell Park, isn't it, we head to next? A very different challenge, that circuit.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping to keep up the momentum for Cadwell, and it's an exciting track that I'm looking forward to. So yeah, it should be good.
We're looking forward to it as well. Luke, thanks for joining us. Congrats on the podium finish. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
So there you have it then, our podium finishes from the first race. Worth pointing out, I have started already, as I mean to go on from round 1, and forgotten about the Driver of the Round award, which has been decided is going to our race 2 winner, Leo Bell. So congratulations, Leo. Another bit of silverware heading your way after the first round of the championship, which I think has been a huge success. A fantastic pair of races here from Brands Hatch. As we've just said, we'll be reconvening again in a week's time, in December, can you believe it, for our Cadwell Park round, the second event of the 8-week championship. And who knows, we might have some new names appearing at the top. We had 6 different drivers taking podium finishes in the first 2 races of the season. I think there's a whole host of others who will feel that they have got a good chance of doing the same. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight. A huge thank you, as always, to the whole team here at Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. We'll be back again, same time, same place, at Cadwell Park for our second round of the championship in a week's time.